The lesson.
Oh, yeah.
When I came back, I mentioned the other thing that I was wanting to do was to open a record shop. So Tony from Central Station had promised me a job at Central Station for a couple of years, and it just went around and around and around. It never went anywhere. And I got to a point where I said, you know what, stuff that. I'm going to do my own thing. So I started importing records from Fat Beats. Fat Beats had just opened up in 95. And also there was a couple of shops in San Fran that I was importing records and tapes and stuff from. And I started actually giving lists to like Suffer, to BBA, few different people in different parts of Adelaide. So I'd give them basically mail order lists and say, okay, whatever records you want, you get the records. And then basically I would import them, bring them over. People would pay me in advance. And I'd rock up to places like Blackwood train station, meet Suffer and meet all the guys like from Blackwood, open up the boot of my car, open up the box, and I'm taking out fresh records that have come from Fat Beats and giving everybody their records. You know what I mean? Like it was hilarious, man. It was so funny, and it was cool. It went along for a little while, but my goal was to open a shop. And the thing is, Central's record sales started plummeting for hip hop, right? When I started doing this.
Because you're doing that.
Because I was doing that. So I kind of forced their hand. They had to give me a job, right? Otherwise, because that was the plan. I was going to open up a records. Was trying.
They'd have to compete with you.
Right? And then in the end, he offered me a job. So I started working. And that happened around, he offered me the job, I think, around 96. But he said, he actually offered me the job before then. But he said, I just can't do it right now. And he went for a long time. And then I did that. And then I started working there like late 96, I think. It was around there.
And was that's around the time and the place where you met Reflux?
Met Reflux later. Reflux was coming into the shop and buying records. And I think at some stage, so Jane and Nex were no longer part of the show, and I think it was just me and Kuro was getting heavily involved with the Fuglemen thing. He was really trying to put all his effort into that, and I probably didn't treat the Fuglemen seriously enough. I think we could have done a lot more stuff. I was just I was so focused. By that stage, I was promoting as well. There's all the promoting side of events that I haven't even really touched on aside from the Voices from the Underground. But basically around 96 was when things started on the promotion tip. And there was a few reasons why that happened. Obviously, being influenced by being in the UK and in Denmark. In Denmark, I got to see Gangstar twice and Jay the Damager, Big Shug and Gravediggers, and I saw so much great live stuff in Denmark. It was amazing. The hip-hop scene they had there in the 90s was just phenomenal. And also in London, I was inspired. So I had this thing where I wanted to bring acts over from, from overseas, from America, bring them to Adelaide. So the promoting thing was really an important priority for me. I guess Reflux, to answer the question, Reflux didn't really come into the picture probably until about like late 98.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It was only
late 90s.
It was only maybe 6 months or maybe 12 months at most before I actually moved to Fresh FM. So, basically 96, Fuglemen came about, and then that was a really amazing time because it was a live hip hop band. At that time in Australia, it was pioneering, and truth be told, we were getting dissed by a lot of the traditional hip hop groups, right? We were getting dissed because it was a live band, right? And even in Adelaide, certain people were kind of dissing us behind our back, but whatever, doesn't matter. For us, it was hip hop, it was live, and I guess, I don't know, for the guys, I guess they were heavily influenced by the Roots and stuff like that, so they kind of thought, and it was cool. The thing about doing live hip hop, it was very free and it was very flowing, and you could just go with the music, So we did some really cool stuff. We were on Recovery, we were on TV. We went on Recovery on the same show as Jebediah, and I got the Wicked Force Breakers, two of the Wicked Force Breakers, Archie and George, to come and be part of our show on Recovery. So we did like 2 or 3 songs on Recovery. I think it was 2 songs. We were on Channel V. We did a tour around the East Coast. We did a couple of tours around the East Coast of Australia, multiple tours.
You had a very early video clip as well.
Yeah, we did some video clip. We did a video clip as well that we shot up in Kaipo Forest and stuff. We performed Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne. Yeah, we did the East Coast a few times, and we did that as part of the Lino tour as well. So we had Sears Band, Crisp, and Fuglemen. We did a bunch of shows with that, and DJ Noise, and that tour was pioneering in itself. We had the first incarnation. Well, we had the Resin Dogs' first tour. It was a tour called the Lino Tour. That essentially it was started by the Lino event was started by Ross Stanley, and Ross had started it originally as a hip hop weekend here in Adelaide, and some crazy stuff went down on that show. Well, there were 3 shows. So he'd brought over the Macronauts, which had what's the drummer from the Hoods plays drums?
Oh, Platonic Lab.
Platonic Lab, yeah. He was the drummer for Macronauts. Who else? We had Metabase and Breath, Fuglemen, Women Speak, Female Collective. A bunch of other local groups, I think. And so Ross had arranged that over a weekend. So I think there was a Friday night gig, a Saturday night gig, and a Sunday afternoon gig. It was called the Lino Weekend. And off the back of that, he decided to do the Lino Tour, which was basically playing in Brisbane, Byron Bay, Sydney, Melbourne, Adelaide. And for that, I coordinated booking DJ Noise.
Yeah.
So that was Noise's first official tour, and it was just after he'd won the World DMC. So he'd already won the 94 NMS World Championships, which was, that was incredible in itself. And then he'd won the DMC. And I think he's one of the only DJs to win both contests. There might be, Cash Money, I think, did as well. Maybe? No, I can't remember. Anyway, so yeah, with Fugleman, we did some cool tours, and then the Lino tour was just a whole nother level because it was B-Boy All-Stars as well. B-Boy Basque, and I think the Hype Brothers came along, I think, on that as well. Resin Dogs, so Catch and Dave Dog, Jigsaw Jeff. We had Raised by Wolves, we had Sia and Crisp, Fugleman, DJ Noise, DJ Soup, right, who was part of Funky Nomads. And that tour was amazing. Like, it really was amazing. I mean, it was such an amazing tour. If you ask the Resin Dogs about it, they'll tell you it. Anyone that was a part of that tour, they'll tell you it was just an amazing experience to go as a group, start at the top of the country, and I think this was pre-Vibes on a summer's day, or I might be wrong. No, I don't think it was pre-Vibes, but it just had a different vibe, and it was a bit more hip hop focused, but with the live element, jazz, funk, hip hop type thing, and I helped put that tour together with Ross. Actually, I wanted to be involved with doing that sort of thing, get into tours and stuff. And Ross was putting it together, but I ended up doing, I think, Ross did most of the negotiating with the venues, but I did a lot of the hands-on, putting together the tour, doing the tour booklets, a lot of the running around of the work. I was the tour manager on that tour, and it was a good experience for me. And that was around 97.
The lesson. Oh, yeah.